what does that say about his view of the role of women in Turkey? And Turkey really is a country where it's quite remarkable that women have always had a very strong role in the business community, in universities, and elsewhere. Under the AKP government, the role of women in this government bureaucracy has diminished. Women are less visible in that space. In the new parliament, there will be many more women parliamentarians than in its predecessor, and they will be from all political parties. I think it's going to be interesting to see if the women can work across parties the way they can in the U.S. Congress to push issues of interest to women, issues addressing the terrible problems of violence against women in Turkey and honor killings, and the need to educate girls, which I will say the AKP has started addressing. I think that those issues are something that should be addressed, and that the United States will be watching to see how the government addresses them. Another issue of concern, the issues of religious freedom. I would note that the United States International Religious Freedom Report talks about problems concerning Muslims as well as others. It talks about the headscarf issue. The United States has no axe to grind with regard to the right of women to wear headscarves in public places. So it would encourage Turkey to address that issue and to have women being able to wear the apparel of their choice in all venues. With regard to other religious groups, the Alevi are very want recognition of their houses of worship. They want the right of their children not to attend mandatory religious education in public schools because the religious education in public schools is Sunni. Yet their issues have not yet been addressed by the AKP government. We have the issue of the rights of Christian communities. They're very concerned about their property rights, which are frequently restricted. And then we have the malingering issue with regard to the Greek Orthodox. I will say, as somebody who used to work for the United States Congress, this is a bone of contention in Congress. The recognition of the patriarch in his ecumenical capacity, the reopening of the Halki Seminary. These are issues that are not going away for the U.S. Congress, and the State Department raises them regularly with their Turkish counterparts. I would note as an aside, in the 1990s, current President Abdullah Gül visited Congress with a parliamentary delegation. And I asked him at that time about the Halki Seminary, which had been closed since, I think, 1971. I stand to be corrected, but I think that's about when it was closed. It's the preeminent institution for training Greek Orthodox clergy. And he explained to me that it was a terribly difficult issue and that they were studying it and they would get to it soon. I'm on a panel here with professors, and I would think that 11 or 12 years is a long time to carry an incomplete grade. So I think that that is an issue that can be addressed and that should be addressed. Other issues, I think, have also been alluded to here, the issues of freedom of expression. I don't know if Turkey wants to continue to be known as the country in the world with either the most or almost the most number of journalists in prison. I know that some of them have been roped into the alleged Ergenekon affair, but there's also other journalists in prison. I think this is unconscionable for a democracy, and then I hope that this is something that the United States State Department and others constantly address with Turkish counterparts. The other issue of concern, I noticed the head of Google was recently in Turkey talking to President Gül, and he raised the issue of internet freedom. Turkey has banned thousands of websites. The Turkish government is now requiring people to select an internet filter. Well, in this country, it's up to parents and families decide whether they want to filter the internet. It's not, the government doesn't tell us to do this. And I think it raises questions about freedom of expression, and because the new freedom of expression in the world is the internet. I would like to say that the Prime Minister's victory speech on the balcony gave me hope. He talked about reaching out to the various communities in Turkey and the need for everybody to reach out to all Turks. I'm paraphrasing very broadly. He said comparable things in 2007. I think if you put the speeches side by side, they would be remarkably similar. I think it's about time that those goals were realized. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to open it up for questions from the audience, but if I could just ask one question to get it going. Starting with the victory speech that Carol spoke about, it was a very gracious speech, and he talked about dialogue and knocking doors and reaching out. What I'm curious to say, and Carol Migdalovitz offered some hope in her remarks about particularly these three members of parliament that are being, in essence, obstructed from going to parliament. And as far as I know, there's another member of parliament, a decision on his fate is going to be made tomorrow, as far as I know. I'm curious if you think that climate of dialogue is at risk now with these two members from CHP and the member from the BBC or the Independent. Are you concerned about the dialogue and the climate is at risk, especially going into a debate about the Constitution? Dr. Barkey, would you care to say?
Well, it seems to me that the initial signs that at least I saw today is that people are looking for ways to resolve this problem. I mean, what is to me was most ironic here, and the one person we did not really mention too much about, Mr. Barkey of the Nationalist Action Party, whose really only goal in life is to prevent any type of Kurdish accommodation, came out today saying that the Supreme Electoral Council was wrong in denying Mr. Dicle his seat. So even he was. I mean, he thinks the way the Supreme Council behaved this year was shameful. Nonetheless, he also understood that there was something very fishy in this decision, and that it should be redressed. So the signs are there for some kind of global compromise, as Carol mentioned. And now, if it doesn't happen, then I think all bets are off. But I think if anybody was to bet at this stage, it would probably be in favor of some kind of compromise.